Planning for development next, lifting India and Indians out of poverty and building a modern technical and industrial base were among the major objectivities of the new nation in 1950s. Next, the government set up a planning commission to help design and execute suitable policies for economic development. Next, there was a broad agreement on what was called a mixed economy model. Here, both the state and the private sector would play important and complementary roles in increasing production and generating jobs. Next, what especially these roles were to be which industries should be initiated by the state and which by the market, how to achieve a balance between the different regions and states was to be defined by the planning commission. Next, in 1956, the second 5-year plan was formulated. This focused strongly on the development of heavy industries such as steel and on the building of large dams. Next, these sectors would be under the control of the state. These focus on heavy industries and the effort at state regulation of the economy was to guide economic policies for the next few decades. Next, this approach had many strong supports but also some vocal strategies. Some felt that he had put independent efficiencies on agriculture. Next, others argued that he had neglected primary education. Still, others believed that it had not taken account of the environmental implications of economic policies. As Mahatma Gandhi follower Mira Ben wrote in 1949, by science and machinery and mankind may get hug returns for a time, but ultimately will come dissolutions. We have got to study nature's balance and develop our lives within her law if we are survive as a physically healthy and morally decent species. Next, India gained formed soon after the devastations of the Second World War. At what time a new international body, the United Nations, formed in 1945, was in its infancy. The 1950s and 1960s saw the emergency of the Cold War, that is, power relatives and ideological conflicts between the USA and the USSR, with both countries creating military alliance. Next, this was also the period when colonial empire were collapsing and many countries were attaining independence. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, who was also the foreign minister of newly independent India. Next, development free India's foreign policy. In this context, non-alignment formed the bedrock of this foreign policy. Next, led by statements from Egypt, Yugoslavia, Indonesia, China, and India, the non-aligned movement urged countries not to join either of the two major alliances, but this policy of staying away from alliance was not a matter of remaining isolated or natural. The former means remaining aloof from world affairs, whereas non-aligned countries such as India played an active role in mediating between the American and Soviet alliance. They tried to prevent war, often taking a humanitarian and moral state against war. However, for one reason or another, many non-aligned countries, including India, got involved in wars. Next, by the 1970s, a large number of countries had joined the non-aligned movement. Next, the nation 60 year on. Next, on 15 August 2007, India celebrated 60 years of its existence as a free nation. How will has the country done in this time, and to what extent has it fulfilled the ideals set out in constitutions? Next, that India is still united and that it is still democratic are achievements that we might justly be proud of. Many foreign observers had felt that India could not survive as a single country, that it would break up into many parts, with each region of longitude group seeking to form a nation of its own. Next, others believed that it would come under military rule. However, as many as 13 general elections have been held since independence, as well as hundreds of state and local elections. There is a free press as well as an independent judiciary. Finally, the fact that people speak different languages or practice different faiths has not come in the way of national unity. Next, on the other hand, deep divisions persist despite constitutional guarantees. The untouchable, or as they are now referred to, the Dalit, face violence and discriminations in is many parts of rural India. They are not allowed access to water source, temples, parks, and other public places. And despite the secular ideas emphasis in the constitutions, there have been clashes between the different religious groups of in many states. Above all, as many observers have noted, the gulf between the rich and poor has grown over the years. Next, some parts of India and some groups of Indians have benefited a great deal from economic development. They have in large houses and dine in experience restrictive, send their children to expensive private school and take expensive foreign holidays. At the same time, many others continue to live below the poverty line. Next, housed in urban slums of living in remote villages on lands that yield little. They cannot afford to send the children to school. Next, the constitutions recognize equality before the law, but in real life, some Indians are more equal than others. Judged by the standards it set itself, independence, the Republic of India has not been a great success, but it has not been a failure either.